Hey guys, this is Adam here with V-Speed Garage, and today we're doing an update of the Audi Coupe GT and just showing you what's been fixed, what's left to be done, and the status of the car as it sits. It's going to be going up for sale in the next week or two, and really have enjoyed having this car, learning about it, and getting to work on it a little bit, but it's just time for it to go. I'll be moving here in the next month or so and really need to get it out of my possession. It's been really cool to get this thing back to a status where, you know, I can be really proud of it, and handing it off to someone else to enjoy it themselves. The car looks 2 or 3 times as good as when I got it. It really looked pretty good when I first purchased it, but the paint looks even better. The car is like almost spotless in terms of the cleanliness and just the smoothness of the paint, and you know, all the trim looks really nice and kind of refreshed. The wheels look a lot better. Everything is just so much cleaner. Took the PPF paint protection film off of the rear fenders, and there were a couple issues this car had when I got it, being the exhaust was broken and was just, you know, broken off underneath the car, really loud, but that has been replaced and repaired. The window tint has been removed on all sides except for this rear glass, which does help quite a bit, and I think the look of the car is amazing without the tint on it, and with it just on the back. I think it's really nice and clean. The fuel gauge was not working. Got that working in another video. If you haven't watched that one, check it out here. Definitely was a big accomplishment, you know, just trying to diagnose that and figure it out. But the fuel gauge now functions entirely perfectly, as perfectly as a car from 1987 will. There was a power steering leak the car had. It basically puked out all of its power steering fluid after I'd gotten it flushed. I actually had the power steering flushed by a local shop, and yeah, it leaked out slowly over the winter. And as I'd run it, it would just leak more and more. And so diagnosed what that was, it was actually just a missing hose clamp, really just a problem there. And the steering had been really bad because there was no pressure holding that power steering fluid in there. And so I fixed that after diagnosing what was missing and what was wrong. And then it's got brand new fluid in it. It's got an oil change and filter coming up in the next week. It's gonna get an OEM Audi filter, which is actually sitting in the car, as well as it's gonna get full synthetic, and it's gonna get a full coolant flush. So that is gonna be really nice. Under hood, let's just take a look at it. You've seen the inside. This thing is basically spotless in here. There's very little wrong with the interior of the car. The only thing that you could really say is there's a spot on this seat here where they tested out the cigarette lighter. And then the floor mats are, you know, obviously a little bit worn, but they're really not bad. I mean, this one has a spot, you can see that kind of splotch area, and that was an area where the carpet, you know, the padding had actually pulled off. So I cleaned that up a little. It's about as good as it's gonna get without replacing it. But I did put new rear speakers in the car because they were in bad shape, but the originals are included with the car. So if you end up buying this from me, you will get the speakers. There's also an air filter. But let's actually look under the hood. See if I can do this with one hand. Oh. So the engine bay is a lot cleaner. All the grease and gunk that was around has pretty much been cleaned off. You can see how clean stuff like these hoses and the radiator fan are. The valve cover's been at least repainted, touched up. Like I said, power steering fluid is topped off and full. This car had some work done with the timing belt and the water pump before I got it. I was attempting to fix the air conditioning on this car and discovered that the compressor is shot. It will need a brand new compressor, but they're not too expensive and not too difficult to replace on these. It's got fittings to do the R134A conversion. You may have to get a new condenser and accumulator and stuff like that to actually complete that entire swap. But you can see under the hood, this was just covered in you know, dirt and grease from years and years of not being cleaned, and it's pretty clean, I'd say, for the most part. There's definitely still a little on there in a few spots, but really not bad at all. And everything, you know, runs fine. This car will start right up. All the lights work. Yeah, I mean, none of this stuff needed restoration. The car is in really good shape, and I'm very happy to have the car in this state. The wheels, you know, got cleaned up quite a bit. There is some peeling on the center caps, but really not bad. And that is a very minor thing, because the wheels themselves are not peeling. It's just the center caps. So you could strip off the clear coat and just re-clear them if you wanted, and you're good to go there. This side had the slight peel of clear coat. Let's see if we can even, you can just barely see the edge of it. I got over this with a bit of ceramic coating, and it kind of tried to clean it up a bit with polishing. It's really almost entirely unnoticeable unless you're right up next to the car in very intense light right on it. But this, you know, is something that would eventually have to be repaired, but you can pretty much drive it as is, and like I said, it's almost entirely unnoticeable from a distance. Then in the trunk, yeah, everything's good in here. The power antenna still doesn't work, but this will require an aftermarket solution. I'm pretty sure you can't get an OEM you know, piece for that. But yeah, all the original stuff, like, you know, the spare tire and jack, and that's all in here. Washer fluid reservoir is fine, no leaks there. Rear right wiper works on this perfectly fine. The sunroof works great with the little hand crank inside, and then you can put that in the trunk if you want to store it away. But let's start this thing right up. This car has not been started today. It hasn't been started actually since probably midday yesterday. So you turn the key forward to accessories, get your nice beeping tone. Everything shows up. Fuel gauge working, fuel range working. Brake is just a check light there, battery and oil light and all that's just all check lights. Sometimes it takes a little bit. It's a little bit cooler this evening, so it can take a little bit to get it warmed up. There's an old car. 66,000 miles though. I'm just gonna do this to shut it up. Put the windows work. Other side, perfectly fine. No issues there with them coming off the tracks. Again, the air conditioning doesn't work. You can press the button and you can hear the compressor just wants to kill itself, so don't do that. But then the radio does work. I've got a cassette in here I've been using. This is a Bluetooth cassette, which actually should be going in this way. So you can use that. It's a Bluetooth receiver. You've got these indicators for battery voltage and oil temperature, and they're both functioning as they should. The light works in here. Every light in the interior works. You can hit this, it'll turn on. Visors are missing these clips, but I am going to be getting a couple of those in very shortly. And then one of the last real issues, a lot of these have this problem. You can see with the mirror is delaminating just a tiny bit, but nothing really all that bad. So that's pretty much it for this car. As far as the driving experience, it is super smooth. I had my dad in the car with me just a few days ago. I had to drop him off at the shop to get his Tahoe worked on, and he rode in this and he said, wow, this car is so smooth, because it just glides down the road. Obviously it's not fast, doesn't have a ton of power, but it is very light on its feet, and you can kind of throw it around, being only like 2,300 pounds or so, this car. And also it's just so smooth over bumps. It's got this kind of cushy suspension, very lofty, and so when you go through a corner it definitely falls over a bit, but it's light enough that it has the tire to grip and kind of make those turns that you wouldn't expect with such a soft suspension. So I definitely have enjoyed experiencing this car. It's not really in my wheelhouse of what I tend to like to drive. I like cars with a manual. This has an automatic, but I've driven it to work a few times. I've driven it, you know, I think in total probably 300 or 400 miles, and no real issues at all. I mean, it's got a pretty cool sound to it with the straight 5, which you just can't really get in a lot of other cars. So that's an update on this. Pretty long-winded, but a lot of things to talk about, and definitely have enjoyed working on the car, and hope you guys come out and check out the listing when it goes up here in a little bit. I'll put a link to that in the description as soon as I know which platform it's going up on, and you know, hopefully you guys can enjoy it, maybe bid on it, and have your chance to win yourself a great 1987 Audi Coupe GT. And thanks for the support on the videos so far. I know there's only been a couple, and already getting rid of it, but I do appreciate kind of the commenting, the liking, and the following on the process of fixing this car and owning it for the short time that I have, and really do appreciate that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.